Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Olivia de Havilland. Dame Olivia Mary de Havilland is a retired American actress. Her career spanned from 1935 to 1988. She appeared in 49 feature films, and was one of the leading movie stars during the golden age of classical Hollywood. She is best known for her early screen performances in The Adventures of Robin Hood and Gone with the Wind, and her later award-winning performances in To Each His Own, The Snake Pit, and The Heiress. Born in Tokyo to British parents, de Havilland and her younger sister Joan moved to California in 1919. They were brought up by their mother Lilian, a former stage actress who taught them dramatic art, music, and elocution. De Havilland made her acting debut in amateur theatre in Alice in Wonderland. Later, she appeared in a local production of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, which led to her playing Hermia in Max Reinhardt's stage production of the play in a movie contract with Warner Brothers. Olivia de Havilland made her screen debut in Reinhardt's A Midsummer Night's Dream in 1935, her career playing demure ingenues opposite popular leading men, including Errol Flynn, with whom she made 9 films. They became one of Hollywood's most popular romantic on-screen pairings. She achieved her initial popularity in romantic comedy films, such as The Great Garrick, and in westerns, such as Dodge City. Her natural beauty and refined acting style made her particularly effective in historical period dramas, such as Antony Adverse, and romantic dramas, such as Hold Back the Dawn. In her later career, she was most successful in drama films, such as Light in the Piazza, and unglamorous roles in psychological dramas including Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. In addition to her film career, de Havilland continued her work in the theatre, appearing 3 times on Broadway, in Romeo and Juliet, Candida, and A Gift of Time. She also worked in television, appearing in the successful miniseries Roots, The Next Generations, and television feature films, such as Anastasia, The Mystery of Anna, for which she received a Primetime Emmy Award nomination. During her film career, de Havilland won 2 Academy Awards, 2 Golden Globe Awards, 2 New York Film Critics Circle Awards, the National Board of Review Award for Best Actress, and the Venice Film Festival Volpe Cup. For her contributions to the motion picture industry, she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. For her lifetime contribution to the arts, she received the National Medal of Arts from President George W. Bush, and was appointed a Chevalier of the Legion d'Honneur by French President Nicolas Sarkozy. After romantic relationships with Howard Hughes, James Stewart, and John Huston, she married author Marcus Goodrich, with whom she had a son, Benjamin. Following her divorce from Goodrich in 1953, she moved to Paris and married Pierre Galante, an executive editor for the French journal Paris Match, with whom she had a daughter, Giselle. In 1962, she published Every Frenchman Has One, an account of her life in France. De Havilland and Joan Fontaine are the only siblings to have won Academy Awards in a lead acting category. A lifelong rivalry between the 2 actresses resulted in an estrangement that lasted over 3 decades. She has lived in Paris since 1956, and celebrated her 100th birthday on July 1, 2016. In June 2017, 2 weeks before her 101st birthday, de Havilland was appointed Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire in the 2017 birthday honours for services to drama. It makes her the oldest woman ever to receive the honour. In a statement, she called it the most gratifying of birthday presents. Early life. de Havilland's father, Walter de Havilland, served as an English professor at the Imperial University in Tokyo before becoming a patent attorney. Her mother, Lilian Fontaine, was educated at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London and became a stage actress. Lilian also sang with the Master of the King's Music, Sir Walter Parrott, and toured England with the composer Ralph Vaughan Williams. Olivia's paternal cousin was Sir Geoffrey de Havilland, an aircraft designer and founder of the de Havilland Aircraft Company. Lilian and Walter met in Japan in 1913 and were married the following year. The marriage was not a happy one due in part to Walter's infidelities. De Havilland was born on July 1, 1916. They moved into a large house in Tokyo, where Lilian gave informal singing recitals for the European colony. Olivia's younger sister Joan, later known as actress Joan Fontaine, was born 15 months later, on October 22, 1917. In February 1919, Lilian persuaded her husband to take the family back to England, to a climate better suited for their ailing daughters. They sailed aboard the SS Iberia Maru to San Francisco, where the family stopped to treat Olivia's tonsillitis. After Joan developed pneumonia, Lilian decided to remain with her daughters in California, where they eventually settled in the village of Saratoga, south of San Francisco. Her father abandoned the family and returned to his Japanese housekeeper, who eventually became his second wife. Olivia was raised to appreciate the arts, beginning with ballet lessons at the age of 4, and piano lessons a year later. She learned to read before she was 6, and her mother, who occasionally taught dramatic art, music, and elocution, had her reciting passages from Shakespeare to strengthen her diction. During this period, her younger sister Joan first started calling her Livy, a nickname that would last throughout her life. De Havilland entered Saratoga Grammar School in 1922 and did well in her studies. She enjoyed reading, writing poetry, and drawing, and once represented her grammar school in a county-speaking bee, coming in second place. In 1923, Lilian had a new Tudor-style house built, where the family resided until the early 1930s. In April 1925, after her divorce was finalized, Lilian married George Milan Fontaine, a department store manager for Hale & Co. in San Jose. Fontaine was a good provider and respectable businessman, but his strict parenting style generated animosity and later rebellion in both of his new stepdaughters. De Havilland continued her education at Los Gatos High School, near her home in Saratoga. There, she excelled in oratory and field hockey and participated in school plays and the school drama club, eventually becoming the club secretary. With plans of becoming a schoolteacher of English and speech, she also attended Notre Dame Convent in Belmont. In 1933, de Havilland made her debut in amateur theatre in Alice in Wonderland, a production of the Saratoga Community Players based on the novel by Lewis Carroll. She also appeared in several school plays, including The Merchant of Venice and Hansel and Gretel. Her passion for drama eventually led to a confrontation with her stepfather, who forbade her from participating in further extracurricular activities. When he learned that she had won the lead role of Elizabeth Bennet in a school fundraising production of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, he gave her an ultimatum to either stay home or not return home. Not wanting to let her school and classmates down, she left home forever, moving in with a family friend. After graduating from high school in 1934, de Havilland was offered a scholarship to Mills College in Oakland to pursue her chosen career as an English teacher. She was also offered the role of Puck in the Saratoga Community Theatre production of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. That summer, Austrian director Max Reinhardt came to California for a major new production of the same play to premiere at the Hollywood Bowl. After one of Reinhardt's assistants saw her perform in Saratoga, he offered her the second understudy position for the role of Hermia. 1 week before the premiere, the understudy Jean Rouverol and lead actress Gloria Stewart both left the project, leaving 18-year-old de Havilland to play Hermia. Impressed with her performance, Reinhardt offered her the part in the 4-week autumn tour that followed. During that tour, Reinhardt received word that he would direct the Warner Brothers film version of his stage production, and he offered her the film role of Hermia. With her mind still set on becoming a teacher, de Havilland initially wavered, but eventually Reinhardt and executive producer Henry Blanca persuaded her to sign a 5-year contract with Warner Brothers. On November 12, 1934, with a starting salary of $200 a week. Early films, 1935–37. De Havilland made her screen debut in Reinhardt's A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was filmed at Warner Brothers Studios from December 19, 1934 to March 9, 1935. During the production, de Havilland picked up film acting techniques from the film's co-director William Dietl, and camera techniques from cinematographer Halmer Moore, who was impressed with her questions about his work. By the end of filming, she had learned the effect of lighting and camera angles on how she appeared on screen and how to find her best lighting. Following premieres in New York and Beverly Hills, the film was released on October 30, 1935. Despite the publicity campaign, the film generated little enthusiasm with audiences. While the critical response was mixed, de Havilland's performance was praised by the San Francisco Examiner critic. In his review in the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, Winston Burdett noted that she acts graciously and does greater justice to Shakespeare's language than anyone else in the cast. 2 minor comedies followed, Alibi Ike with Joe E. Brown, and The Irishness with James Cagney. In both films, she played the sweet and charming love interest, a role into which she would later become typecast. After the experience of being a Reinhardt player, de Havilland felt disappointed being assigned these routine heroine roles. In March, de Havilland and her mother moved into an apartment at the Château des Fleurs at 6626 Franklin Avenue in Hollywood. Although Warner Brothers Studio had assumed that the many costumed films that studios like MGM had earlier produced would never succeed during the years of the Great Depression, they nonetheless took a chance by producing Captain Blood in 1935. The film is a swashbuckler action drama based on the popular novel by Raphael Sabatini and directed by Michael Curtiz. It would star a then-unknown extra, Errol Flynn, alongside the little-known de Havilland. According to film historian Tony Thomas, both actors had classic good looks, cultured speaking voices, and a sense of distant aristocracy about them. Filmed between August 5 and October 29, 1935, Captain Blood gave de Havilland the opportunity to appear in her first costumed historical romance and adventure epic, a genre to which she was well suited, given her beauty and elegance. In the film, she played Arabella Bishop, the niece of a Jamaica plantation owner, who purchases at auction an Irish physician wrongly condemned to servitude. The on-screen chemistry between de Havilland and Flynn was evident from their first scenes together, where clashes between her character's spirited hauteur and his character's playful braggadocio did not mask their mutual attraction to each other. Arabella is a feisty young woman who knows what she wants and is willing to fight for it. The bantering tone of their exchanges in the film, the healthy give and take and mutual respect became the basis for their on-screen relationship in subsequent films. Captain Blood was released on December 28, 1935, and received good reviews and wide public appeal. deHavilland's performance was singled out in the New York Times and Variety. The film was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. The popular success of the film, as well as the critical response to the on-screen couple, led to 7 additional collaborations. In 1936, de Havilland appeared in Mervyn Leroy's historical period drama Antony Adverse, with Frederick March, based on the popular novel by Harvey Allen. The film follows the adventures of an orphan raised by a Scottish merchant, whose pursuit of fortune separates him from the innocent peasant girl he loves, marries, and eventually loses. De Havilland played a peasant girl, Angela, who, after being separated from her slave trader husband, becomes opera star Mademoiselle Georges, the mistress of Napoleon. The film earned 6 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. It garnered de Havilland good exposure and the opportunity to portray a character as she develops over time. Howard Barnes of the New York Herald Tribune found her later scenes as Mademoiselle Georges not very credible, but Frank S. Nugent of the New York Times called her a winsome Angela. That same year, she was reunited with Flynn in Michael Curtiz's period action film The Charge of the Light Brigade, set during the Crimean War, which became a box office success. During the film's production, de Havilland renegotiated her contract with Warner Brothers, and signed a 7-year contract on April 14, 1936, with a starting weekly salary of $500. Toward the end of the year, 20-year-old de Havilland and her mother moved to 2337 Nella Vista Avenue in the Los Feliz section of Los Angeles. In 1937, de Havilland had her first top billing in Archie Mayo's comedy Call It a Day, about a middle-class English family struggling with the romantic effects of spring fever. During the course of a single day, de Havilland played daughter Catherine Hilton, who falls in love with the handsome artist hired to paint her portrait. The film did not do well at the box office, and did little to advance her career. She fared better in Mayo's screwball comedy It's Love I'm After with Leslie Howard and Bette Davis. De Havilland played Marcia West, a young debutante and theatre fan enamored with a Barrymore-like matinee idol who decides to help the girl's fiancé by pretending to be an abominable cad. The film received good reviews, with Variety calling it fresh, clever, excellently directed and produced, and acted by an ensemble that clicks from start to finish, and praising de Havilland. That same year, de Havilland made 2 more period films, beginning with The Great Garrick, a fictional romantic comedy about the 18th-century English actor's encounter with jealous players from the Comédie Française who plot to embarrass him on his way to Paris. Wise to their prank, Garrick plays along with the ruse, determined to get the last laugh, even on a lovely young aristocrat, de Havilland's Germaine Dupont, whom he mistakenly believes to be one of the players. With her refined demeanor and diction, de Havilland delivers a performance that is light-hearted and thoroughly believable, according to Judith Cass. Variety praised the film, calling it a production of superlative workmanship. Despite the positive reviews, the film did not do as well at the box office. Her final film that year was Michael Curtiz's romantic drama Gold Is Where You Find It, a film about the late 19th century conflict in the Sacramento Valley between gold miners and their hydraulic equipment, and farmers whose land is being flooded. De Havilland played the daughter of a farmer, Serena Ferris, who falls in love with the mining engineer responsible for the flooding. The film was released in February 1938, and was her first appearance in three-strip Technicolor movie Stardom, 1938-40. In September 1937, de Havilland was selected by Warner Brothers studio head Jack L. Warner to play Maid Marian opposite Errol Flynn in The Adventures of Robin Hood. The Technicolor production was filmed on location between September 26, 1937, and January 14, 1938, at Bidwell Park, Busch Gardens, and Lake Sherwood in California. Directed by William Keithley and Michael Curtiz, the film is about the legendary Robin Hood, a Saxon knight who opposes the corrupt and brutal Prince John and his Norman lords while good King Richard is away fighting in the Third Crusade. The king's ward, Maid Marian, initially opposes Robin, but later supports him after learning his true intentions of helping his oppressed people. No mere bystander to events, Marian risks her life to save Robin by providing his men a plan for his escape. As defined by de Havilland, Marian is both a beautiful fairy tale heroine and a spirited, intelligent woman, whose actions are governed by her mind as well as her heart. According to author Judith Cass, The Adventures of Robin Hood was released on May 14, 1938. And was an immediate critical and commercial success, earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. It went on to become one of the most popular adventure films of the classical Hollywood era. The popularity of The Adventures of Robin Hood brought de Havilland a new level of fame as a movie star, but this new status was not reflected in her subsequent film assignments at Warner Brothers. Her next several roles were more routine and less challenging. In the romantic comedy For's a Crowd, she played Laurie Dillingwell, a dizzy rich girl being romanced by a conniving public relations man looking to land an account with her eccentric grandfather. In Ray Enright's romantic comedy Hard to Get, she played another dizzy rich girl, Margaret Richards, whose desire to exact revenge on a gas station attendant leads to her own comeuppance. While de Havilland was certainly capable of playing these kinds of characters, her personality was better suited to stronger and more dramatic roles, according to Judith Cass. By this time, de Havilland had serious doubts about her career at Warner Brothers. Some film scholars consider 1939 to be the high point of the golden age of classical Hollywood, producing classics in many genres, including the Western. Warner Brothers produced Michael Curtiz's sprawling Technicolor adventure Dodge City, Flynn, and deHavilland's first Western film, set during the American Civil War. The film is about a Texas trailblazer who witnesses the brutal lawlessness of Dodge City, Kansas, and becomes sheriff to clean up the town. De Havilland played Abby Irving, whose initial hostility towards Flynn's character Wade Hatton is transformed by events, and the two fall in love, being now a proven formula for their on-screen relationships. Curtis' action sequences, Sol Polito's cinematography, Max Steiner's expansive film score, and perhaps the definitive saloon brawl in movie history, all contributed to the film's success. Variety described the film as a lusty western, packed with action. For de Havilland, playing yet one more supporting love interest in a limited role, Dodge City represented the emotional low point of her career to that point. She later said, "I was in such a depressed state that I could hardly remember my lines." In a letter to a colleague dated November 18, 1938, film producer David O. Selznick wrote, "I would give anything if we had Olivia de Havilland under contract to us so that we could cast her as Melanie." The film he was preparing to shoot was Gone with the Wind, and Jack L. Warner was unwilling to lend her out for the project. De Havilland had read the novel, and unlike most other actresses who wanted the Scarlett O'Hara role. She wanted to play Melanie Hamilton, a character whose quiet dignity and inner strength she understood and felt she could bring to life on the screen. De Havilland turned to Warner's wife Anne for help. Warner later recalled, "Olivia, who had a brain like a computer concealed behind those fawn-like eyes, simply went to my wife, and they joined forces to change my mind." Warner relented, and de Havilland was signed to the project a few weeks before the start of principal photography on January 26, 1939. Set in the American South during the 19th century, the film is about the strong-willed daughter of a Georgia plantation owner in love with the husband of her sister-in-law, Melanie, whose kindness stands in sharp contrast to those around her. According to film historian Tony Thomas, deHavilland's skillful and subtle performance effectively presents this character of selfless love and quiet strength in a way that keeps her vital and interesting throughout the film. Gone with the Wind had its world premiere in Atlanta, Georgia, on December 15, 1939, and was well received. Frank S. Nugent of The Times wrote that deHavilland's Melanie is a gracious, dignified, tender gem of characterization, and John C. Flynn, Sr. in Variety called her a standout. The film won 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and de Havilland received her first nomination for Best Supporting Actress within days of completing her work in Gone with the Wind in June 1939. De Havilland returned to Warner Brothers and began filming Michael Curtiz's historical drama The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex with Bette Davis and Errol Flynn. She had hoped her work on Selznick's prestige picture would lead to first-rate roles at Warner Brothers, but instead she received third billing below the title as the Queen's Lady-in-Waiting. In early September, she was lent out to Samuel Goldwyn Productions for Sam Wood's romantic caper film Raffles with David Niven, about a high-society cricketer and jewel thief. She later complained, "I had nothing to do with that style of film." In early 1940, de Havilland refused to appear in several films assigned to her, initiating the first of her suspensions at the studio. She did agree to play in Curtis Bernhardt's musical comedy drama My Love Came Back with Jeffrey Lynn and Eddie Albert, who played a classical music student turned swing jazz band leader. De Havilland played violinist Amelia Cornell, whose life becomes complicated by the support of a wealthy sponsor. In his review in the New York Times, Bosley Crowther described the film as a featherlight frolic, a rollicking roundelay of deliciously pointed nonsense, finding that de Havilland plays the part with pace and wit. That same year, de Havilland was reunited with Flynn in their sixth film together, Michael Curtiz's Western adventure Santa Fe Trail. Set against the backdrop of abolitionist John Brown's fanatical anti-slavery attacks in the days leading up to the American Civil War, the mostly fictional story follows West Point cadets J.E.B. Stewart, played by Flynn, and George Armstrong Custer, played by Ronald Reagan, as they make their way west, both vying for the affection of de Havilland's Kit Carson Halliday, playing Kit in a provocative, tongue-in-cheek manner. De Havilland creates a character of real substance and dimension, according to Tony Thomas. Following a world premiere on December 13, 1940, at the Lenzic Theatre in Santa Fe, New Mexico, attended by cast members, reporters, the governor, and over 60,000 fans, Santa Fe Trail went on to become one of the top-grossing films of 1940. De Havilland, who accompanied Flynn on the well-publicized train ride to Santa Fe, did not attend the premiere, having been diagnosed with appendicitis that morning and rushed into surgery. 4 years, 1941–44. Following her emergency surgery, de Havilland began a long period of convalescence in a Los Angeles hospital, during which time she rejected several scripts offered to her by Warner Brothers, leading to another suspension. In 1941, she appeared in 3 commercially successful films, beginning with Raoul Walsh's romantic comedy The Strawberry Blonde with James Cagney. Set during the gay 90s, the story involves a man who marries an outspoken advocate for women's rights after a rival steals his glamorous, strawberry blonde girlfriend, and later discovers he ended up with a loving and understanding wife. The film was a critical and commercial success. In Mitch Lyson's romantic drama Hold Back the Dawn with Charles Boyer for Paramount Pictures, she transitioned to a different type of role for her unordinary, decent small-town teacher whose life and sexuality are awakened by a sophisticated European gigolo, whose own life is positively affected by her love. Lyson's careful direction and guidance appeal to de Havilland much more than the workman-like approach of her Warner Brothers directors. Bosley Crowther of The New York Times wrote that the actress plays the school teacher as a woman with romantic fancies whose honesty and pride are her own on the film's chief support. Incidentally, she is excellent. For this performance she garnered her 2nd Academy Award nomination, this time for Best Actress. In July 1941, de Havilland was reunited with Flynn for their 8th movie together, Raoul Walsh's epic They Died with Their Boots On. The film is loosely based on the courtship and marriage of George Armstrong Custer and Elizabeth Libby Bacon. Flynn and de Havilland had a falling out the previous year, mainly over the roles she was being given on. She did not intend to work with him again. Even Flynn acknowledged she was sick to death of playing the girl, and badly wanted a few good roles to show herself and the world that she was a fine actress. After she learned from Warner that Flynn had come to his office saying he needed her in the film, de Havilland accepted. Screenwriter Lenore Coffey was brought in to add several romantic scenes and improve the overall dialogue. The result is a film that includes some of their finest work together. Their last appearance on screen is Custer's farewell to his wife. Errol was quite sensitive. De Havilland would later remember, "I think he knew it would be the last time we worked together." Flynn's final line in that scene would hold special meaning for her. "Walking through life with you, Mom, has been a very gracious thing." They Died with Their Boots On was released on November 21, 1941. And while some reviewers criticized the film's historical inaccuracies, most applauded the action sequences, cinematography, and acting. Thomas M. Pryor of The New York Times found de Havilland altogether captivating. The film went on to earn $2,550,000, Warner Bros.' second biggest moneymaker of that year. In 1942, de Havilland appeared in Elliot Nugent's romantic comedy The Male Animal with Henry Fonda, about an idealistic professor fighting for academic freedom while trying to hold on to his job, and his wife Ellen. While her role was not particularly challenging, de Havilland's delineation of an intelligent, good-natured woman trying to resolve the unsettling circumstances of her life played a major part in the film's success. According to Tony Thomas, the film was a critical and commercial success, with Bosley Crowther of The Times noting that de Havilland concocts a delightfully pliant and saucy character as the wife. That year, she also appeared in John Huston's drama In This Our Life with Bette Davis, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel of the same name by Ellen Glasgow. The story is about two sisters whose lives are destroyed by the anger and jealousy of one of the sisters. Crowther gave the film a negative review, but noted de Havilland's warm and easy performance. During production, de Havilland and Houston began a romantic relationship that lasted 3 years. According to deHavilland, one of the few truly satisfying roles she played for Warner Brothers was the title character in Norman Krasna's romantic comedy Princess O'Rourke, with Robert Cummings, filmed in July and August 1942. The story is about a European princess in Washington, D.C., visiting her diplomat uncle, who is trying to find her an American husband, intent on marrying a man of her own choosing. She boards a plane heading west and ends up falling in love with an American pilot, who is unaware of her true identity. The film was released on October 23, 1943, and did well at the box office. Bosley Crowther called it a film which is in the best tradition of American screen comedy, and found deHavilland's performance charming. After fulfilling her 7-year Warner Brothers contract in 1943, deHavilland was informed that 6 months had been added to her contract for the times that she had been suspended. At the time, the studios had adopted the position that California law allowed them to suspend contract players for rejecting a role, and the period of suspension could be added to the contract period. Most contract players accepted this, but a few tried to change the system, including Bette Davis, who mounted an unsuccessful lawsuit against Warner Brothers in the 1930s. On August 23, 1943, acting on the advice of her lawyer, Martin Gang, deHavilland took Warner Brothers to court, citing an existing section of the California Labor Code that forbade an employer from enforcing a contract against an employee for longer than 7 years from the date of first performance. In November 1943, the California Superior Court found in deHavilland's favor, and Warner Brothers immediately appealed. On December 8, 1944, the California Court of Appeal for the Second District ruled in her favor. The decision was one of the most significant and far-reaching legal rulings in Hollywood, reducing the power of the studios and extending greater creative freedom to performers. California's resulting 7-year rule, also known as Labor Code Section 2855, is still known today as the deHavilland Law. Her legal victory, which cost her $13,000 in legal fees, won deHavilland the respect and admiration of her peers, among them her own sister, Joan Fontaine, who later commented, "Hollywood owes Olivia a great deal." Warner Brothers reacted to deHavilland's lawsuit by circulating a letter to other studios that had the effect of a virtual blacklisting. As a consequence, deHavilland did not work at a film studio for nearly 2 years. deHavilland became a naturalized citizen of the United States on November 28, 1941. 3 days before the United States entered World War II militarily, alongside the Allied forces. During the war years, she actively sought out ways to express her patriotism and contribute to the war effort. In May 1942, she joined the Hollywood Victory Caravan, a 3-week train tour of the country that raised money through the sale of war bonds. Later that year she began attending events at the Hollywood Canteen, meeting and dancing with the troops. In December 1943, deHavilland joined a USO tour that traveled throughout the United States, Alaska, and the South Pacific, visiting wounded soldiers in military hospitals. She earned the respect and admiration of the troops for visiting the isolated islands and battlefronts in the Pacific. She survived flights in damaged aircraft and a bout with viral pneumonia requiring several days' stay in one of the island barrack hospitals. She later remembered, "I loved doing the tours, because it was a way I could serve my country and contribute to the war effort." Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.